Support for this podcast comes from listeners and St. Alphonsus Health System, a regional network of hospitals, clinics, and care providers. St. Alphonsus offers comprehensive healthcare services to individuals and families throughout the community. More information about services and locations is available at stalphonsus.org.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector, Idaho Daily News. Good morning, I'm Troy Oppie in for George Prentice. Today is Thursday, October 16th. This morning, Lewis Clark State College wants to be known as a university. They plan to ask lawmakers to make that change this year. Albertsons stock is up after the Boise-based grocer posted strong quarterly earnings, and Idaho Governor Brad Little touring the United Kingdom. But first this morning, a federal judge says a lawsuit challenging Idaho's ban on trans women from competing in women's and girls' sports must continue. Julie Luqueta has more.
Boise State University student Lindsay Hecox filed the suit when the Fairness in Women's Sports Act was passed in 2020. She asked for the lawsuit to be dismissed last month, saying she was prioritizing her health and safety in order to graduate. But on Tuesday, U.S. District Judge David Nye denied the request, writing, quote, "The state of Idaho has defended this case vigorously for years. It would be fundamentally unfair to abandon the issue now on the eve of a final resolution," end quote. The U.S. Supreme Court agreed to review the case back in July. It remains active in district court while it waits to be heard by the High Court. In a press release, the state attorney general's office said it expects oral arguments to proceed in January. Julie Luqueta, Boise State Public Radio News.
The foreign military installation announced for the Air Force property in Mountain Home is not a base, according to Idaho's Governor Brad Little. The governor Wednesday writing that U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth confirmed that Qatar is not building a military base in Mountain Home. The site will house training and maintenance facilities for the Qatari Air Force and their F-15 QA fighter jets. The governor says he's in contact with the state's congressional delegation to make sure Idahoans' concerns on the installation are raised. Quote, "It is critical we work with the administration to ensure this agreement is done in a way that protects Idahoans' interests as further details are finalized," he wrote. A group of state lawmakers has also written to the congressional delegation expressing their concerns over the announced agreement. Governor Brad Little separately on Wednesday announced he'd recently completed a diplomatic visit to the UK, along with representatives from Idaho's Departments of Commerce and Agriculture and a small but unnamed group of Idaho businesses and organizations. That's according to a press release from the governor's office. Governor Little says Idaho is working to expand its export reach and create new opportunities for the state's farmers, ranchers, and food producers, specifically in beef, dairy, and processed potato industries. Data from the State Department of Commerce show the UK is not currently among Idaho's top 10 international trading partners. Albertsons stock jumped about 10% this week after the Boise-based grocer posted strong quarterly earnings. New CEO Susan Morris told investors sales across the company grew about $400 million, up to $18.9 billion last quarter, and the company expects sales for the year to grow slightly more than previously predicted. They bumped the baseline year-over-year sales growth forecast from 2% up to 2.2%. Albertsons will also buy back more of its company stock. Morris announced an additional $750 million of common stock repurchases. That's on top of the $2 billion repurchase program announced last December after the merger with rival Kroger fell apart. Lewis Clark State College wants to be known as Lewis Clark University. The school in the last few years has worked to build consensus on the name change on its own campus. That's according to the school's president, Cynthia Pemberton. She told the State Board of Education on Wednesday that the current name is confusing and it undersells the school.
We are constantly confronting the clarification that we are indeed a four-year institution. We're a small institution that won't change. In athletics and in admissions, it interferes with our ability to recruit.
State Board has already approved the change. Legislation to update the branding is ready for the upcoming legislative session. Pemberton says that effort will start in the Senate Education Committee. If it's approved by lawmakers, the name would also need to be approved by the school's accrediting body, the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities. Lewis Clark State also announced yesterday it has surpassed 4,000 enrolled students for the first time in its history. The 5th Judicial District Magistrates Commission has named Twin Falls attorney Patricia Miliuri as the district's new 4th magistrate judge. The Times News reports Miliuri was one of 2 finalists interviewed for the new judgeship, which has been created to serve an increasing number of cases in the district. Her swearing in has not yet been announced. The Idaho Transportation Department, Visit Idaho, and the state's Historical Society are updating and adding to the state's historical highway markers, starting in the Idaho Panhandle. The new signs will add stories from the 20th century and fill in historical gaps that left certain groups underrepresented, like Indigenous people, women, and immigrants. From Spokane Public Radio, Eliza Billingham has more.
If you pull to the shoulder of Highway 95 near Athol, you can now learn about Gladys Buraker, a female aviator who trained World War II pilots and helped transition the Henley Aerodrome into Silverwood Theme Park. That's thanks to updated highway historical markers that are now available to road trippers across North Idaho. State groups have been working on updating old highway markers and adding new ones since the late 2010s. Retired Idaho State historian Keith Peterson couldn't help but get involved.
One of the things I found right away is about 85% of the existing markers dealt with the 19th century. There are big gaps chronologically. There are also lots of gaps, like there are 3 markers statewide devoted to women.
Markers in North Idaho now have more information about Chinese railroad workers, an all-black infantry regiment, submarine testing, lake restoration efforts, Idaho's oldest Jesuit mission, and multiple indigenous tribes.
And so far, they've been able to match the typeface to all the words from the 3 northern tribes that we've had.
But for all the updates, one thing has remained the same. The typeface that was created specifically for these signs in 1956 is still used on the new ones. I'm Eliza Billingham, reporting.
In sports, Boise State soccer, top ranked in the Mountain West Conference right now, is on the road this week. Tonight at 3rd place, San Diego State. This weekend, a road match at 2nd place, New Mexico. Boise State volleyball, meanwhile, is at home for its next 4 matches. Tonight, kicking off that homestand with San Jose State. It'll be the first time the Broncos and Spartans have met since 2023. Boise State forfeit 3 times to San Jose State last year, refusing to play because the Spartans had a transgender athlete on their roster. That match begins tonight at 6 in the Bronco Gym. And that's your Connector for this Thursday, October 16th. I'm Troy Oppie. Thanks for listening. If you want to stay up to date with the news, you can always follow our website, boisestatepublicradio.org, or download the free Boise State Public Radio app. We'll see you back here again tomorrow morning.
The stories don't stop when this podcast does. Boise State Public Radio's Instagram gives you reels, updates, and snapshots from our reporters in the field. Follow Boise State Public Radio on Instagram today.